As bassists, we're always practicing scales and scale patterns. But here's the problem. A lot of them aren't really that practical. They just don't always translate into something that we can use right out of the gate. But what if the most powerful scale pattern you could ever learn was also the simplest one? That's what we're digging into today. It's just 1, 2, 3, 5, root, second, third, and fifth. And I'm going to show you why it works so well for bass lines, learning tunes, plus how to start using it right away on Autumn Leaves using the free PDF that's linked in the description. Let's get into it. So here's the PDF. You can download this below. It has these fretboard diagrams as well as what we're going to get into in a second in terms of applying this to Autumn Leaves. So again, just basic instruction, 1, 2, 3, 5, and minor. It doesn't get any simpler than this. It's just C is our root, D is our second, okay? That's also the ninth if we play that up an octave, okay? But C is our root, D is our second, E flat is our third, in this case minor third, and then G is our fifth. It's that simple. It's stupidly simple, but unbelievably powerful, as we'll see. 1, 2, 3, 5, okay? C, D, E flat, G, root, second, minor third, fifth. And then just repeating it up the octave. C, D, E flat, G, C. And then I like to go down C, G, E flat, D, C, G, E flat, D, C. Okay, now let's put a chord underneath this. Let's put a C minor seventh chord, right? Really beautiful, right? And stupidly simple. But what's really nice is that we're spanning the full range of the instrument. Great technical exercise to get spanning the whole range. And the way I'm fingering this is maybe a bit different than what you're used to. A lot of my double bass training tends to move into my bass guitar playing. I don't necessarily play one finger per fret. So what I'm doing is 1, 1, 2, 1, and then sliding up to our root again here, an octave above. C, okay, and then I'm doing same thing. 1, 1, 2, 1, and here 4 or 3. Okay. Okay, so that's the minor version of this pattern. Let's check out the major version here. So for major, same thing, 1, 2, 3, 5. Only note that's changed now is a major third. So we're gonna have C, D, that all stays the same. And instead of E flat, we got E natural, right? 1, 2, 3, major third. 5 stays the same, everything else stays the same. And then up an octave. Okay, once again, 1, 2, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, major third, 5, root. Now let's put a chord underneath this, C major seventh chord. Now the way I'm fingering this right now is I'm going 1, 2, 4. Again, that's my upright training. You could also go 1, 2, 3. That's cool too. 2, 3, 1, and then shift up. 1, 2, 3. That's sort of like that better than 1, 2, 4. 1, and here again, 3 or 4. I kind of like 3. And then shift down. Let the left hand do the work. 3, 2, 1. In terms of developing our horizontal motion across the neck, our fretboard fluidity, it's like walking across a river on stepping stones instead of just standing in one spot. We start to see the entire landscape of the neck. So now that you know the basic patterns, before we move on to applying this to some bass lines, let's talk about why this is so powerful, especially for us bass players. So first, it's always got the root in there no matter what we do. Root. And I know we all want to play bass lines that, oftentimes don't have the root. I get it. That's a really hip thing to do. But rule number 1 for bass players, we got to establish that root motion. Okay, so this pattern, it always has that root in there. Now, a second reason why I love this pattern and why it's so powerful is because it includes essentially a color tone, all right, which is the second degree, which is the same as the ninth, an octave up. This D, if I play that an octave up, that D is like our ninth, all right? And it adds immediate color. It adds an immediate sense of melody, all right? So check this out against a chord. If I play a C minor seventh chord again, and I just sort of go back and forth between 1, 2, 3. That D, right, just gives this extra sense of color. It's like adding a splash of color to a black and white drawing. You know, it just suddenly jumps off the page. And that's what happens with this just simple addition of the second, which is the same thing as the ninth. Right? It just gives us immediate sense of melody, which, as we'll see, is so powerful when we are building bass lines. Reason number 3 why this is so powerful, you've probably heard me talk in other videos about my concept of start with 4 and then add more. For any instrumentalist who's improvising, I really feel that 4-note groupings are just such a great place to start. We tend to play in 4/4 time the most, and so the math just adds up perfectly for our phrasing, especially for walking bass lines, so we're going to see in a minute. Okay, so I like to say start with 4, then add more with these simple 4-note cells. Again, let's play this on a major 7th chord. Right, it's just so simple. It's like 4 little Lego blocks, right, that we can build a ton of shapes with, and then later we can add more little pitches, more little Lego blocks around that sound to create more intricate ideas. And so now let's apply this in bass lines. Remember, stick around. At the end of this video, I'm going to show you how to apply this to Autumn Leaves in a walking bass line context. You can check that out via the PDF below. But before we get to that, let's just look at how we can apply this to some funk and R&B and almost jam band type situations. All right, so again, just focusing on C major and C minor here. Let's go to C minor. You know, let's say you show up to a jam session, right, and they just start playing a C minor vamp, all right? This is going to be such a powerful tool in your toolbox, all right? So I could play something like, right? What am I playing just there? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 5, instant groove, instant melodic bass line, so hip. And if you play it up an octave, it's like you've got an immediate fill. Okay, so love using this pattern for funk and R&B bass lines. All right, so now let's talk about 1, 2, 3, 5 and jazz standards. Right, in a second, we're going to apply this in some really hip ways on Autumn Leaves. But before we do that, let's talk about why this is, I think, more powerful than the usual way that we work through jazz standards, right? So the usual way that we do this is establish your root motion, then, maybe roots and fifths, then triads, and then move on to 4-note groupings, move on to arpeggiating the 7th chords. So on Autumn Leaves, first chord is C minor. Outline the chord tones of C minor 7. C, E flat, G, B flat. Next chord is F7. Then play F, A, C, E flat. Next chord is B flat major. So play B flat, D, F, A, etc. Right? Now this is fantastic. It's essential, absolutely, to get those chord tones down. But if you're beginning on your jazz journey, or if you're an already established pro, 1, 2, 3, 5, I think, is potentially even more powerful. Why? Because we have that second degree in there. As we'll see in a second, that gives us a lot of possibilities for walking bass lines. When we emphasize that second degree, when we have that ninth in there, it gives us that melodicism. It gives us an immediate sense of melody, but it also gives us that essential triad, okay? So 1, 3, 5, 7 through the chord changes, fantastic. But I think, and we'll look at this in a second when we look at Autumn Leaves, 1, 2, 3, 5 may actually be more powerful. We usually think we need that whole toolbox of arpeggios first, but this is like learning to tell a story with just 4 words. You get the point across clearly before adding any of that extra detail. All right, so now let's work through 1, 2, 3, 5 in some different ways on Autumn Leaves. You can check this out and follow along via the PDF below. Just going to do the first 8 bars of the tune in some different ways. Let's check out first just playing 1, 2, 3, 5, the simplest way to do this, the simplest way to start outlining these chord changes. The first 8 bars here, just 1, 2, 3, 5, just jumping down to the root each time. Okay, so let's talk about this for a second. So everything's, should be pretty straightforward. First 4 bars, just 1, 2, 3, 5. Now, when we get down here, what am I doing? I'm playing the natural 9th, okay? If you want to learn more about why I'm doing this, you can check out this video here. But this is our second for me. When I think of A minor 7 flat 5, I'm thinking C melodic minor, which has B, all right? So I'm thinking A is our root, B is our second, obviously C is our minor 3rd, E flat is our flat 5 here. D7 flat 9, obviously I'm playing E flat. Sorry about this. This should be F sharp. Sorry about that enharmonic error there. And then I'm just thinking G minor 6 here. Don't even have to worry about the 6 because we're just playing 1, 2, 3, 5. So already here you should be seeing again that sense of melodicism that we have here. And now in this next section here, we're going to start working with permutations. Anytime we have a 4-note grouping, there are 24 permutations of that 4-note grouping. Okay, I'm not going to go into all that here, but one of the permutations, right, is just 5, 1, 2, 3. We're just switching up these notes, okay? 5, 1, 2, 3 sounds great. And what I'm doing here is just combining 1 bar of 5, 1, 2, 3, then 1 bar of 1, 2, 3, 5. Check this out. 5, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 5, 5, 1, 2, 3. Love it. I'm going to do this one again. Just 5, 1, 2, 3. Instantly melodic. Okay, what's happening here? Well, I love this because we land on the 5th. That flat 5 just sounds so great. And then down to that root and that major 2nd. This is just love it, right? And then this works perfectly moving into D natural here. This combination has great voice leading, right? Notice the voice leading between 4 and 1. Either moving in a half step or a whole step. Whole step, E flat to F, great voice leading. C down to F, great voice leading. D to E flat, perfect voice leading. Here, B flat to E flat, great voice leading, right? C to D, great voice leading. So automatically we have great voice leading. I encourage you to experiment with different permutations, right? Obviously there's 24 of them. I just chose one here. So now let's take this in a completely different direction. We're going to stick with this basic shape of 5, 3, 2, 1, all right? But we're going to change it a little bit, okay? Instead of 5, 3, 2, 1, we're going to just change that natural 1, okay, to a flat 2 or a sharp 1. Sharp 1 is wrong to say that, but, essentially it's the same note, all right? So we are playing, if this was C minor, you can see this in the first bar here, 5, 3, 2, flat 2, okay, and then to C, which is the fifth of the next bar. What we're doing here is now adding some chromaticism. And this shell, this 1, 2, 3, 5, or in this case, using these permutations, if we just switch one of the notes, add a chromatic note, now we are getting like beautifully pro-level melodic bass lines, adding a little chromaticism, or you call it a leading tone, whatever you want. But now this is when things start to get really, really hip. Check this out. Chromaticism. This should be E natural, E flat. I'll do this again. This should be E natural. Sorry about that. E flat. Okay, so let's check this out. 5, 3, 2, and then that D flat or C sharp is just a chromatic note leading us into the fifth, right? Our next pattern is 5, 3, 2, 1. 5, C, A, G, F, okay? And what I'm doing here from F to F is, you could call that octave displacement, all right? So just taking the note up an octave, which also sounds great because our ear, gives our ear a little unexpected sort of lift there. So 5, 3, 2, flat 2 here. Okay, B flat, 5, 3, right? So instead of going down, the third of E flat is G. Instead of going down here, I went up. Again, octave displacement, something really cool. F, and apologies, this should be E natural. And then that works beautifully, moving us into the fifth of A minor 7 flat 5, that flat 5, E flat. Okay. 5, 3, natural 2, flat 2, and then A is the fifth of D7 flat 9. 5, 3, 2, that flat 2, right? D7 flat 9 is E flat, root, okay, and down. Love it so much you can do with this pattern. Again, you can download this PDF below to follow along. Thanks so much for checking out this video. Please don't forget to smash that like button, leave a comment below, share this on all your social media platforms. Let me know what you think about this pattern. I know there are so many other 4-note cells that we can do, but I love 1, 2, 3, 5. And if you want to learn another killer exercise using simple intervals, click here.